So what we do with the motorbikes is we first wash it down with a bath of car shampoo with hot water and a very soft bristle brush just to go over it and clean it up. That's after, of course, we've blown it down and get all the dust off with an airline just to blow it off as much as we can, so we don't have to clean it off with the brush too much. We then go around the engine with a mixture of white spirits, and we just sort of degrease the engine as much as we can, just to make it look a bit more presentable without losing that patina. Now this particular model, because it's so original and it's such an important bike really because of its originality, you know, it may be the most original Model H Triumph around. I mean, for example, the rear tyre, although it's in really bad condition, it shows the sort of degradation of the way the tyre dissolves basically over the period of time. This particular motorcycle was found in a basement of a mill which was actually flooded. So as a result of that, we didn't decide to run the engine because there was about half a pint of water found in the sump, and obviously this shouldn't be there. So because we didn't know the condition of the internals of the engine, we thought it best fit not to run the engine at all. So what we did with that is we put some oil inhibitor and oil in the engine, and we then primed it with the pump and just turned the engine over gently just to make sure we're all okay, we're not going to damage anything. But that should hopefully preserve the inside of the engine and the inside of the oil tank as much as possible. We then fogged the fuel tank with the fuel inhibitor just to make sure, again, that's not going to get too much corrosion on the internal side of things. And then we coated the outside of the engine with the wax coating just to make sure, again, the outside of the engine is not going to hurt, whilst preserving that patina as much as possible. That's about it really, because there's not only so much you can do because of the patina of the bike. We're trying to avoid disturbing as much as possible. Okay, with this particular motorcycle, we basically go over the same treatment as we did in terms of cleaning it as we did with the Triumph over there. What we do is, again, we wash it down with the mixture of hot water and car shampoo, after, of course, blowing it off, getting all the dust off with an airline. Again, we use the white spirits to degrease the engine, make sure that's nice and clean. Because it's in such a good condition and the internals of the engine we know are very good, we're actually going to run this one just to make sure it's all the oil is passed through and it's all nice and up to temperature, and make sure it's all working just as it should do. Again, we use oil and inhibitor in the fuel tank, just make sure it's nice and primed. Make sure there's oil pressure there. And then I've also bled the carburettor, make sure there's fuel in the carburettor, and put a little bit of fuel and inhibitor in the tanks. There's 2 fuel tanks on this one, so we'll see if it goes. Okay, so the last thing to do on the motorcycles is to coat the engine after we've run it for a bit and let it cool down, is to coat the engine with the wax coating, just to make sure it's nice and preserved from the outside. This would burn off quite quickly if we were to, this particular motorcycle was to be in the running collection. You know, if we were going to run it on a regular basis, but because it's in a static collection, it's not going to be run for a long time, so that's not going to be an issue.